This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great, authentic Italian food. The City's Voice is brought to you by Salon 234. Salon 234 is dedicated to delivering the highest quality service. We pride ourselves on being a visionary full-service company specializing in the current hairstyle trends and skincare needs for all different types of skin. Our highly skilled staff are committed to meeting your needs with a spirit of caring and individual attention. Passion for excellence and dedication to the advancement of industry standards will continue to guide the evolution of our company. Come find yourself and unwind yourself.
Good evening. I'm Joe Spinner along with Paul Crowley and former Mayor Dave Phillips to a very special edition of the City's Voice. Tonight, the candidates for school committee. It's a discussion, a conversation, and we invite you to call us at 781-596-9641. We want you to be part of it. The rules, Paul?
Okay, Joe. So the rules are, first of all, ignore the fact that this is not a round table.
That's a rectangular.
Yeah, even though this is a round table discussion. Okay. There will be no opening statements.
Well.
Brief introduction by commentator on each candidate. That will be Joe. He will be brief. Candidate will then be allowed to voice what, maybe he won't. Candidates will then be allowed to voice what their plans are if elected in the office they seek and what benefits there will be for the city. Commentators are allowed to make comments but no questions, so we will be trying to spur the discussion but not through hard questioning. Okay. There will be no audience in the studio. However, call-ins will be invited, so please do call. As Joe said, the number is 781-596-9641. That's 781-596-9641. We really want to hear from you, so please give us a call. Rebuttals are available, and they are limited to 1 minute. We will do our best to kind of maintain, the time allowed. So candidates are encouraged to give...
Wait a minute. You're stealing Dave Phillips' lines.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dave?
You get the rest of the rules.
Yeah, that's yours. Get your glasses on and,
Here.
Okay. Candidates are encouraged to give the viewers a personal glimpse of your capability and qualifications. And this round table will be re-aired twice daily for the next week. Try to talk to the camera. The active camera is the one with the red light on. Be as relaxed as possible. Speak clearly. And try to stay on topic as much as possible. And we wish everyone good luck to all and have fun.
Well, I just want to remind folks that 50 years ago, you have a newspaper there, don't you? In which Dave Phillips won the primary. October of 1973, there was, how many members ran for school committee back then? There it is.
It was the same, school committee was still the same, but we had 13 ran and 12
made
the cut. Vinnie Jarvis topped the list. And
50 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyways, let me say this. Stanley, I saw a nice little article in the paper that said that you and Kathy Latham were a little bit at odds, but then you complimented a math program. We'll get to talk about that. Donna, I keep seeing that brother-in-law of yours all over the place with the signs, driving me crazy. And Melissa, you and your entourage were up on Cottage Street and Parkland Ave, I believe, waving away. John, I had a bump into you with your grandson was throwing winning passes there in the Pop Warner with my grandson was trying to block for him, and that was fascinating. And Patsy, my daughter loves you. That's all I can say. And for you, Maria, I caught you when I went to my granddaughter's soccer game in West Lynn knocking on doors, so beware, all of you. Let's get right to it, right?
Get right to it.
What's the phone number here?
781-596 9641, 781-596-9641.
Who wants to say whatever they want to say right up front? Last night you were at the Lynn Teachers debate, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
What, Donna, anything?
Interesting. We just had a discussion, Melissa and I, some of the questions that were asked. Of course, this teachers union is interested in our views on charter in, KIP where we have here and whether other charters should come in. So we did have a discussion of like, why do they ask that question? But they're going to ask that because that's what interests that group in particular.
John?
Yeah, I got a couple emails today from parents up at KIP. One I'm going to meet and have coffee with, and they were concerned that I was against KIP Academy, and I'm not necessarily against KIP Academy. I'm against the charter school concept. I think it's expensive to the city, and as I said last night, I don't think the playing field is level. There are different rules for charter schools that don't apply to us.
Maria, you were there.
Yes, I was there, and to tell you the truth, many parents that I know, my friends, they have the children in the charter school because charter school tend to take more minority kids than anything else. And parents have the right to decide what school is better for them. I don't blame anybody who decide because they provide something that we don't do. It's extended hours for the children. When we have parents that have 2 jobs and they leave the house at 6:30 and coming back at 5 o'clock. So they want to make sure that the kids is going to be in some place safe. That we have that. Hopefully, if we can have extended hours in some schools that we need, like a Forest School, Ingalls, Harrington, we don't need to have the charter school around here.
Melissa, you in the paper mentioned that you had kids at KIP.
I do. My 2 oldest children go to KIP. And that was a decision that we had made because my son was actually placed out of district. And I didn't feel that it was a good placement. He was removed from his neighborhood. He had no contact with any of his friends. He didn't have that community environment. So we talked to KIP, and in 7th grade, they took him from an out-of-district, substantially separate therapeutic school. So they didn't have to take him. They took him at a time when they didn't recruit kids, and they took a really difficult kid, a kid that they kind of gambled on because he's a really high-needs kid. Like Donna said, we were having a discussion about the charter schools and why do they ask that question? Because Charlie brought it up last night that the school committee has no power over the charter school, nothing. We don't get to make any decisions. We don't get to weigh in on anything. We've got no power. Even if more come in, we've got no power. And I think the real question is how do we get kids to stop leaving our schools for the charter school? How do we get them to stop leaving for homeschooling? How do we get them to stop leaving to go to private schools? What is the Lynn Public School not doing that the rest of these schools are? And Maria brought that up last night.
Pat, you mentioned that October 1st, KIP sends a few students back, huh?
And that's my biggest objection, is the funding. I agree parents need a choice. We all make our choices and we make them for the best quality of education for our students. But when you have an uneven playing field where you can bring in lottery and your students buy lottery, you can choose your teachers without negotiations, without contracts, without a bound contract through a union, because they're also non-union. They can pretty much act like a private school with public school funding. That's the piece, is the funding that it takes to out of our public schools and put in. And so they get that funding, they have their students enrolled as of September 1st. Come October 1st, if by school choice or by parent choice, that student returns to the public schools, that per student funding is not returned with the student. So we take the student back, not by lottery or by choice, by welcoming and by embracing. And we forge forward with educating the child in his needs. And it's just an unleveled.
You weren't there, Stanley, so you want to comment?
Yeah, I agree completely with Patty there. It is not fair. I don't like the public money going into private pockets. And I think where we make the mistake is we should look at what the charter schools do and try and adopt those things to better educate our kids. As far as there's a big misnomer, I guess, about the fact, well, charter schools can get private school monies and public schools can't. Folks, we just created a part-time position for the public-private partnership, and their job is to go out and get private money. So that's not exactly true. You know, we just need to look at what they do that works well, and like Maria said, the fact that we got all these schools that are open and empty after 3 o'clock. You know, why is this happening? You know, this is it's crazy.
Anybody have anything to add, or?
I guess I do.
Okay.
I think something that was brought up at last night's debate, which is a big part that's missing, is that charter schools were supposed to be supplemental. They weren't supposed to be an alternative school system. And we don't yet have a collaboration with them. And I think that as a candidate, I'm uniquely positioned to have a great relationship with KIPP. I already do. So I can bring them to the table as far as collaborating with us, which I think is what we're missing right now. We're missing it.
Anybody else?
Another issue that bothers me is the fact that the state requires certification of teachers. Now, when I got my master's, I took that state certification test. It's a tough test, but and some students have a problem passing the test because it is difficult. But we can't teach in the Lynn system or the state system without that certification, yet it's not required at the charter school.
Lorraine Gately wasn't there last night, and she's not here. Oh, she was there last night, but she couldn't make it tonight. And I also want to point out that Charlie Gallo is not here specifically because he's an adjunct professor at North Shore Community College, and as we are here speaking, he's teaching the youth of America the nuances of constitutional law. And that's a good thing. And as for Rich Starbart, he got a calling from God. He's at his church doing some activities there, and I think God takes precedent over us. We're not supposed to... What was that, John? Yeah. Since you brought up alternative, there's something I want to throw out to you. I guess we can comment but not ask questions, and then we can all jump in. 2 of my granddaughters went to Boston Latin. It's an exam school. And I'm wondering why the city of Lynn couldn't have an exam school, speaking to what you're talking about, in lieu of KIPP Academy. We have a physical plant, classical, which could be retrofitted. And you know, we might capture a lot of students that are going to St. John's Prep and elsewhere back into the city. Comment on that. Would any of you consider, exploring the possibility of an exam school? Pat, I see you thinking about it.
I am thinking because it did come up back in between 98 and 2000. The superintendent at the time wanted to do exactly that when we were transitioning the old classical into the new classical. The superintendent Mazareas thought that would be an ideal situation to maintain the higher thinkers in the Lynn community, and exactly as you said, Joe, is to entice them to stay, because he saw the numbers decreasing 13 years ago. So he had that vision. We didn't get support because we thought that would be an exclusive part of education rather than an inclusive. And the table discussion, you recollecting this, Donna? Because the table discussion at the time...
I remember, but I wasn't on the committee then, but I do remember that
at the time that we couldn't exactly brace our feet into it, and it didn't...
But is there a possibility? Does it make sense? Is it something we maybe should take a peek at? Maria, you were nodding your head a little bit there.
I believe that we should take it. I always ask, we shouldn't be so proud about what we're doing and check it out what all the districts doing. That's what is good. It's good to check what in Boston is doing. Like when somebody principal, they give a workshop for the principal. They train people to become a principal in the school. So if we have in Boston something that is working good, or any other city is good for the student, why we cannot duplicate over here? That is my point. We have to be open-minded.
So I'd like to change the discussion just a little bit. Somebody had mentioned the fact, I think it was John mentioned how the restrictions that are placed on you as a committee or as in the department in terms of the qualifications for the teachers and so forth by the state regulations and so forth, and they are further compelled by the Department of Education, the federal level, and so forth. And I've always thought that the education should be more local. The decision should be made more locally. Instead of trying to standardize it from the top down, it should be more local. And I was wondering if maybe we could have a little conversation about how you would envision the education system being if we were left to our own devices, if you will. We could do it the way we wanted to do it. Didn't have to worry about, NCAS.
I think what we have for the standards is important. And I think you want to, show your system up against other systems. I think it's really important. And I think it's really important that the teachers be licensed, like John says. I think that's an important piece. But I think that you expect, if you have a high standard, then they're going to rise to that occasion. The worry that I have is we expect teachers to have their bachelor's and their master's, but yet we don't help them on the funding of the master's. And I think it's a really expensive
That's just like
piece.
unfunded mandate.
But I think it's important, and there should be money for that.
Well, we're looking for you to give a call out there. 781-596-9641. Remember to turn your TV down. Dave.
I had just, I'm sort of the new guy on the block here a little bit.
Actually, the old guy, right?
But or maybe the old guy, but
That paper is yellow.
I served also as chairman of the school committee in Lynn, and I'm not as involved with KIPP Academy, but I've seen how these KIPP academies have succeeded around the country in various places that have worked. And one of you mentioned something about collaborating together to maybe take the strengths of both and integrate those. To me, that would be a more positive type.
Well, that's the point. That's what charters were meant to do. They were supposed to supplement public schools. They weren't supposed to replace. They're not supposed to be alternatives. And that's why the teachers are allowed to be unlicensed. That's why that they're not unionized. They're looser so that they can experiment and they can try and they can say, yes, this works. No, this doesn't. And they're supposed to collaborate with their public schools.
And they've, to a
Let me
large
stop
degree,
you,
they've been.
because we have someone on the line, and we can get
Oh.
back to that point. Cindy, how are you tonight? Is it Cindy?
Yes.
Cindy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, do you have a question for any of the candidates, all of the candidates?
For all of the candidates, good evening to everyone. I remember a few years back, it was a question on the ballot in the city of Lynn for the public schools to implement uniforms, and it was voted down. I personally voted yes for the uniforms, and I was wondering if that's something that could be readdressed or just implemented by the school department. And I understand some families might be concerned for cost of it, but also if it was just implemented, couldn't it be done for like low-income families on a scale that they can input what they can, pay based on income? I think implementing uniforms, especially in a city like ours, with the diversity and different income levels, would be a good thing.
Something I'm very much in favor of, but it's something that we've been told by our attorney we can't mandate. You can't be forced. I mean, my sister's principal of Sacred Heart School. I'm in there quite frequently, and it is a good thing. It's a cost saving to the parents. I mean, to buy a couple of uniforms is a lot cheaper than designer clothes that they're wearing every day.
Any other comments on that? Quickly.
Yes, because we did try this. Lynn English, probably 4 years ago or less, got a $50,000 grant for just a $50,000 donation for just that, for uniforms. But they did all they could to get the enthusiasm of the students, the enthusiasm of the community, the enthusiasm of the staff, and we thought if it could catch on there, it would be a beginning. They were given their shirts, They were given long and short sleeves. They were given the opportunity. They were given prizes and reward system, and it never took.
Gotcha. I got to hold you there because Bernie's on the line. Maria, you wanted to say something. Bernie, hold while Maria says something about uniforms.
Yes, I just want to say that Boston public school has uniform. We have also Lawrence has uniform. Maybe when parents asking me that they want uniform, it's because many parents believe it's not about how costless it's going to be. It's about also how they're dressing. It's an identification as a student. It's also identification as some red colors or something about youth violence. But the thing is that parents need to be together in school, starting elementary school, get together and decide that they want uniform for that specific school. If they got together and have a petition, and nobody's going to stop them. And if somebody go without uniform, they can still get in, but they're going to become adjusted little by little. It's not mandated, but it's something that if a parent wants, can be true.
Okay, well thank you, panel. We now have Bernie on the line. Go ahead, Bernie.
Yes, I had a question regarding the funding of the charter schools. I assume someone there must know. I was under the impression that if you paid, say Lynn, if they paid $6,000 per student, that if they went to a charter, the city had to pay $6,000, and I guess the family picked up the rest if it was more. Is that true, or do you pay whatever their salary is for the charter school? That's my
That came up last night at the debate, and Donna, you were there, so why don't you try that question because you didn't answer the other one.
Whatever the cost is for the KIPP student is what comes out of our budget, the Lynn School Department budget. So that is what our cost is. And as Patty said, if the student comes back, after October 1st, we don't get the money back. The money stays at the KIPP school.
John?
The cost of the city of Lynn this year for the KIPP Academy is $8 million.
How many students? Oh, I didn't mean to ask a question. Sorry.
I think there's about 100 students per grade. They have 5th through 10th right now. So about 500 students over there. And I don't want, do you want to finish your thing, John?
Oh, no, I just did.
Okay.
There is a cost to the city of Lynn in the budget. It's $8 million.
It is, and then
500.
I'd like to break that down for everybody because again, charter schools is my thing. I have kids that go to charter schools. It's important to me that it's important that people understand. So KIPP's per pupil foundation cost is $11,140. Lynn's per pupil is $11,664. About 90% of both of those numbers is funded through Title I because we're low income. About 10% of it comes from the city. Those dollars, imagine kids with dollar bills over there.
I'm going to have to stop you, Melissa, because we're going to be going to a break very shortly, and then come back to that topic we will. Stanley, I get 30 seconds. Say something.
Geez, I had something when Don was talking.
Hold the thought.
Yeah.
781-596-9641. Please turn down your TV. We'll get right to Stanley when we get back from this break. Stay tuned.
The City's Voice is brought to you by Salon 234. Salon 234 is dedicated to delivering the highest quality service. We pride ourselves on being a visionary full-service company specializing in the current hairstyle trends and skincare needs for all different types of skin. Our highly skilled staff are committed to meeting your needs with a spirit of caring and individual attention. Passion for excellence and dedication to the advancement of industry standards will continue to guide the evolution of our company. Come find yourself and unwind yourself. This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great, authentic Italian food.
And we're back. Stanley, I promised you that we'd come back to you when we are. I'm interested in a thing called Common Core. I'm not overly familiar with it. Are you?
Not about the nuts and bolts. I know that everybody has to adhere to a certain expectation, and I guess maybe subject areas. But I know that's a big hot button for all this season. There's like 45 that have signed on to it, but I don't know. I'm just not a big favor of standardized anything like MCAS and things like that. It's kind of deceptive.
What's interesting to me, you mentioned standards, Donna, and the proponents of Common Core say, wait a second, this is standards, not curriculum, and that you folks, local school districts and state, can do as you choose curriculum-wise, and choose your own books, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I wonder if that's really true, and I understand that Lynn, or Massachusetts, has accepted Common Core for next year. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, yeah, and we have accepted it, and it should be in place of MCAS eventually, and it will be a different test that will, and I think it's a little better. We have MCAS here, maybe in California they have a different type of a test, but across the country now we'll be competing on taking the same type of tests in the same, Common Core, same standards we'll have, and you'll be better able to, go from state to state. We're Massachusetts is at the top on the testing, but when we do this, maybe we won't be. We may not be at the top.
Vocational schools have to do the same thing?
Which school?
Does Common Core apply to a vocational school?
Yes.
Universal.
Yeah, it's universal.
What about to graduate? Like, is it going to replace MCAS as far as the standard of graduation?
Right, it will still be one of the requirements, absolutely.
Pat, you had your hand up.
Well, it goes back to that question, do we allow the teacher to have its own, or the system to have its own curriculum in the classroom versus a standardized curriculum? We've become so global in our education that to have individual curriculums, as was suggested what that might be about, would really put our children in a danger. They need to know that their standards of learning are going to be more global, that they are going to be able to be test ready and academically ready to be able to pursue higher education or higher careers, but that they can compete with not only their fellow neighbors in Lynn, Saugus, and Salem, but they can go beyond. They can go beyond New England and beyond America and beyond to a global, and that's why it's very important that the Common Core, which is a standard that we are now evolving into, is something that our students can be ready to accomplish and our teachers can be ready.
But here's the critics. The critics say it's a one-size-fits-all program and that ultimately the students don't benefit, that the grades start falling. There's a lot of evidence coming out now on that. John, can you opt out of Common Core if you wanted to? Can you?
I don't know that. I would assume that you can't. That's just my guess.
There were some states that opted out of it, but the concern was whether they were going to be without some federal funding.
Right.
Exactly.
The funding will dry up, and then what do you do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it was 4.5 billion was laid out there, and everybody jumped on it. 45 states and the District of Columbia jumped in on it. So I don't know. And also, there's the other critique of it, Maria, is that they want to get away from fiction. They want you to read original, factual things for analysis and critique as opposed to fiction. Really?
Yes.
Could I interrupt you, Maria? We have a caller on the line now.
We do.
Peggy, school choice. What can we have? How can we help you? Peggy? Peggy, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I have a question for you guys. You have the 3 high schools here, plus you have your charter schools. And your 3 schools, when the kids get out of junior high and are going into the high school, without parent permission or anything, they're allowed to make a choice of what school they want to go to. don't you think that the parents should be the ones that are part of that as a team to make a decision? I mean, my daughter lives, she has to take 2 buses to get to school. And even though they have, the school busing and stuff, sometimes she doesn't get home till 7 o'clock, especially the kids that have after-school sports and stuff. And I'd like to know why the kids aren't, why they aren't made to go to the school in their district.
They don't really have to go to the school in their district. If they live in West Lynn, they can opt to go to English High School and vice versa. And it does require a parent's signature coming out of middle school. We've had that discussion recently at a school committee meeting. There was a parent, and they did sign off on something. And then they wished that they hadn't, but it did require their signature. And once they put it there, their child then was transferred to the other school. The LynnTech, though, does have an interview process and and really almost it's not a actual written exam, but it's an important piece of how their attendance is, how their interest is, how they did in school to get into LynnTech. So it's a little more stringent than a child just picking out where they want to go.
LynnTech has greatly upgraded their curriculum.
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
And sometimes they kids decide because one school offers something that the other school doesn't offer. So it's a choice that they make with the parent. It's not just a kid. I remember when my grandson went to English high school, he had the choice to go to classical, but he decided to go to English because it was something over there that didn't have in classical, that he decided to go to English. So it's something about what they want and why school offer that sometimes.
But the bottom line, being a parent, is certainly signing off on these choices.
What we're going to do is, I skipped a part, and we'll give you the opportunity to come back to it, okay? And it's this. Each of you should have been allowed to voice your plans if elected. And guess what? I didn't do that. So we'll start with Maria, okay? And just go right down the line and speak to the camera. Once again, to voice what their plans are if elected in the office they seek.
Well, if I become re-elected, my plan is to continue working for teachers, parents, and students. I'm very flexible, very accessible. My passion is education, and to have the parents involved in the school, in the education of the children, is going to be one of my goal. If I become, that was my goal from the beginning, because I see many parents that they don't get involved. I've been fighting for more, talking more for more interpreter translation. We have the equipment now, and it's good because parents feel like they're going to be part of the education of the children. It's an organization now, Parent for Better Education of the Children. I go there, I try to give them feedback about what they're doing, because they got involved. When we see parents involved in the education of the children, the educations go up. And we see that right now, and we are very proud that we have classical, that from level 3 became level 1, and there are kids who parents don't speak English, many things. And we see Harrington, Connery, they came from level 3, level 4, now level 3. So we can see that it's about communication, it's about engagement with the parents, it's about parents feel part of the education of the children. And I think that I'm going to continue fighting to see how can we maintain the school building open after school.
Thank you. We got a caller on, but we're going to hold caller. Pat?
I want to continue what we see as successful. We have the data that was laid out citywide over the last several weeks. We are raising scores. We are raising our schools out of the level 4 districts into the level 3. We have raised 6 schools into the level 1 status. So our curriculum that is out there is working. Our teachers are working tremendous amounts of efforts and time and knowledge of putting into those classrooms. So for me to continue on the school board would to support the strengths of our teachers, to continue the goals of our superintendent in moving the system in the direction that it is presently moving. But as I said the word goals, if I continue to work on the school committee this next term, one of the proudest things that we've done is what we've forced every teacher and every student to be: accountable. We are now making the superintendent accountable through goals, so that she can have goals, we can measure those, we can assess those, we can up and down those goals, and we can see progress or lack of progress. But at least we now have a track to go on, and I think it's vital. It's a vital way for us to communicate with the superintendent. It's a vital way to see if we as a board are functioning, and it's vital to see if we as a system that have set up those goals can continue, and our students are making gains for those. So again, the next thing I would do is parent engagement. It's a big piece. You'll hear every one of us talk about parent engagement. But what we are doing, and what I would like to come back in January to continue to do, is a new program called Parent-Teacher Academic Teams. This is something that is going to help reach a large amount of parents with a lot of services to be provided. We are going to teach parents how important school is, because parents know school's important, but we're going to show you through the classroom how important getting involved is. We now have a online parent can access by logging in, and they can check every piece of data on their student compared to every student in that classroom. And we can reach 6th to 12th grade parents. That's 7,000 parents we can reach by parents willing to log in and see what their students are doing.
Good idea. John?
Yeah, as I said last night, it's a good time to be on the Lynn School Committee. I think things have been going pretty well of late. We've had some real academic achievements. I consider this a full-time job. I work it every day. I am chairman of Building and Grounds, and one of my goals is to be at the ribbon cutting for the Marshall School. Next week we have Treasurer Grossman coming in. We're going to look at the Pickering School. Hopefully we can get an accelerated build plan. As I said last night, the city is in very dire need of classroom space. We literally don't have any right now. You know, I wish to continue in that vein. Also, I'm very involved in the community. I'm on several boards. I'm very involved with the youth in the city. I want to continue in that vein. And as we all said last night, parent involvement is paramount. You know, if there's a break from 2:30 in the afternoon till 7 o'clock the next morning or 7:30 the next morning, and there's no continuation of the academic process, if there's no interest in education at all, then basically every day we're starting all over again. And I think the engagement that we have to continue to foster with the parents is critical to the academic achievement of the kids.
Melissa?
I'm really interested in reading proficiency, and that would be, I think that would be my primary goal when elected to school committee. Only 41% of our third graders, 38% of our fourth graders, 48% of our fifth graders, and 39% of our sixth graders were found to be proficient in reading. Aborn and Sisson schools have the highest reading proficiency rates. So I actually called. I called over to Aborn, I called over to Sisson, and I spoke to the principals, and I said, why? What are you doing differently? And both the principals attributed their great rates to their teaching staff. They just said, our teachers are just killing it. They're doing a great job. And I said, why do you think these other schools are doing so poorly? And we had a discussion about a myriad of things that affect our students, everything from whether or not they had access to pre-K, their mother's education, their socioeconomic standing, whether their family speaks English at home. And none of those things we can change. We can't change any of that. We can't even really change the teaching staff in a school. We can't move Aborn staff over to Connery. What we can change is the program. We can pick a practice-based program with a phonological approach to reading and spelling, and really teach our kids how to read. Start with phonics, start with consonants, start with vowels, and start young. And get our kids reading, because they're gonna use reading for the rest of their lives, for the rest of their school career. I think after that, I'd focus on our underutilized schools and our overcrowding. We have classrooms so full of children that there isn't room for desks, and the kids sit on the floor. And we talk about exam schools, we talk about charter schools. We haven't talked about well, at least the school committee has in the past, but we're not talking about it right now, a Horace Mann charter school, which would be a charter school that would be controlled by the Lynn Public School District. It would give parents a choice, it would give the Lynn Public Schools control, and the money wouldn't be leaving. Let's have conversations about that. Let's have conversations about making sure tech is enrolled, making sure Fallon is utilized, making sure classical is utilized, making sure the STEM school is utilized. Let's have conversations about making our classrooms smaller. Our kids are going to learn better. Our teachers are going to have better working conditions. I think I'd also like to see a better reflection in our schools of our students. We're a very diverse population, and I look at our schools and I don't see a lot of diversity. It's one of the things I love about my kids going to KIPP is I go there and there's teachers from Hawaii, there's teachers from Wisconsin, there's African American teachers, there's African American administration, there's Chinese teachers, and they're getting such a wide access to influences and role models, and I think that that's great. And of course, family engagement. Everyone talks about family engagement. And that's a key. We got to get our parents involved. We got to get them invested and keep them invested.
Donna?
Well, thankfully I got involved in the school committee simply because I had all my kids were in the Lynn Public School, and I had two dear friends as teachers that got me very involved, Pat Campbell and Joanne McCarthy, who's actually passed away, but I contribute them really for my interest in the schools. And it all started in PTA, and as I got really involved, I realized that we weren't necessarily putting children first in the Lynn schools, and we weren't embracing parents, and I never felt embraced many times. So I still feel to this day, all the years I've been on the committee, that children must be put first, and we must embrace the parents and really give them the knowledge they need to make their children successful. And I think that's a big piece that we're working on, and we've come to some degree, a little bit of a degree of moving forward on that. But it has been a little bit of a struggle with this administration to move forward and embrace the parents. But I think now we see that we've had some success in that area, and hopefully that will continue. I think what's really important is that the kids become proficient and advanced in all of their studies, and that includes if it's not a traditional way for a child to learn, we need to really know all the ways the kids can learn to reach that goal. And I think that's a really important one, whether we're studying the data. We collect a lot of data in the school department, and we have a lot of people studying it. So I think that we can really figure that out and make it even better. I know many years ago, people used to say the Lynn Public Schools are the best kept secret. And who wants it to be a secret, At my church, one of the boys there, his family's from Cambodia, and he was a valedictorian at Lynn Classical this year, Philip. And his family came from Cambodia in the killing fields, and who would think that when his family came here, that their child would be the valedictorian of a class. But those are the successes we do have, but we want all the kids to have success. Melissa mentioned the Horace Mann. That has been brought to the table. And it is something to pursue. They do it in Salem, and I'd like to see that happen, as well as community schools, K through 8s, anything that's going to make it the best for parents, the kids, and a success for us.
Stanley.
Okay, I think, I am all for increasing the communication from the schools all around. I'd like to see a lot of accountability, and our dollars need to be going to the students and not to the administration. And it's great to have all this data, but by the time you hire people to manipulate it and stuff like that, it gets lost in what you're trying to do. You want to educate the kid. My son went to Pickering last year, and his textbook had and I've said this a few times, about Soviet Union in it. I mean, what are we doing? We need to embrace technology, and because we are not, our school system is that we have so many old schools, we are not going to build our way out of this problem, people. We've got to, think out of the box, use the internet and different ways, creative ways to educate our kids, because we're not going to build new schools for as many people as we have. I just think a lot of things just aren't being brought out there. We need to have these conversations.
Stanley, you got to go to a break. You get great timing. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great, authentic Italian food.
Well, the Boys and Girls Club helped me out in a way because I used to be a bully when I was little. They helped me make good choices. Like when I want to do something wrong, they told me to think twice or come right here. Forget about them. If your friends want to do that, you let them do it and you come here. If the club wasn't here, I'd probably still be wandering the streets. I would have probably still been a bully, beating up everybody, causing fights, talking about gangs and all that, killing somebody, knocking somebody out. A lot of kids end up talking about fighting and that they gonna sell drugs if they don't become what they want. And I pull them aside and I talk to them, hey, like I try to make them understand what's wrong and what's right. That's it.
Good evening. We're back from our break. And by the way, we've decided, the council here, the triumvirate, to take a vote on whether we're going to suspend the rules so that we can actually ask some questions, and you can ask questions among yourselves. So, do I have a second on the motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. The rules have been suspended. Dave, you haven't been able to say a thing because, so you've been listening attentively. He's a former mayor, the head of the school committee as mayor. Things were different back then. The school committee has some power, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, things were different, and the scores in the Lynn system were much better than
they are now?
They were later.
Well, talk to them about it.
But, I think that was just the nature of the times. But one of the things I wanted to ask to all the candidates, and I don't want to belabor the KIPP Academy thing, but it seems like this lady mentioned doing benchmarking for certain functions in the school department. And I found in traveling, I've spent a lot of time working overseas and around the country with not so much with educational systems, but with other forms of government. And we've gotten great results when you take the benchmarking process right from the very top all the way through and set standards for, to meet best practices, and then go by those standards. And when I say from the top, it should go beyond the superintendent. It should go to the taxpayers, to the mothers, the fathers, and down to the people that are cleaning the schools. And if KIPP Academy can contribute something because of their style of teaching, then, you know, that should be adopted. But they should give, if they're going to send us kid back, they should send the money too. I don't understand. I don't understand that. That's,
Well,
but
jump in.
There's not a question in there.
No, it's great to comment on.
and just in closing, and I'd like to get your feedback. I've found over the years that if you can maintain a public-private balance of competition, sometimes we had a sanitation division back in the 60s that was the best in this part of the country. And later on, it sort of fell down and it got contracted out. But this public-private balance is something that really should pass through everything, including school systems. And, you know, you look at a function and say, is it better to have teachers do it, or is that something that should be?
There was quite a few things you commented on. One was benchmarking, which is something that the school has been highly invested in, because that's exactly where our data comes from. As the kids go through, whether it's Dibbles in 3rd grade, whether it's the reading scores of the MCAS, whether it's any of those testings along the way, many of their programs are tied to benchmarking and seeing where they are, because then we can zero in not just on what Lynn Public is doing, but what John's doing in his 3rd grade class with his students. So benchmarking is certainly something that's working for us, and it's giving us.
It's a great concept.
It's a great concept because it's called. We used to have these things in special ed.
Not for metrics, but more for performance indicators.
For performance. I think it was said to me the other day, we have IEPs, individual ed plans. Well, I think every student in the Lynn Public Schools has an individual ed plan, because we are told that we have to have individual student performance up in front of us. We need to be able to zero in on every student in every classroom through these benchmarks, through these tests, and know where their weaknesses are and how the teacher in that classroom can go forward. So that's certainly something that we're doing. The next thing you talked about was KIP. We could talk endlessly about the imbalance of the finances, and I think until something of that changes, that's not going to change. Reaching out to the community and making KIP's great ideas our great ideas or someone else's great ideas, that's what it's called best practice. And many school departments, including Lynn, have adopted best practices from around the nation. We have been to this parent piece that I was talking about. That was something that was brought in from, well, I was just going to say Colorado. And there are programs from Tennessee that we have seen, we have modeled. So we are trying to make sure best practices are brought into Lynn.
Jump in, guys.
Right, but I think where Lynn, no, I don't want to say fails, where they're not doing good enough is like response to intervention practices. So we have benchmarks, but we don't have, we're just starting to get response to intervention practices put in place in all the schools. And what that does is that,
well, got to give a little time out here for two reasons. One is Lorraine Gately has arrived, and we're glad to have her here.
Thank you.
You can find your seat there, and we have a caller who wants to, Cleo, as a matter of fact,
Joe,
who's
you're always cutting me off.
interested in parental satisfaction.
Every time,
I hate
Joe.
to do it this
Every
way,
time,
but
Joe.
you're unlucky, Melissa. What can I tell you? Cleo, how you doing? Cleo?
Yes.
Yeah, you had a parental satisfaction?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So my question for the candidate is, for parents that are less than satisfied with the Lynn Public Schools, what do you think are the main factors that leads to this parental dissatisfaction, and what would you do to address this issue?
And then we'll go right to that question.
Oh, it's response to intervention is a process in which you look at the intervention. So you would look at the Dibbles, and it's not an intervention, but you would look at the results of the Dibbles test and say, are we hitting our benchmark? If we're not hitting the benchmark, you do an intervention. An intervention might be a different reading program, and then 3 months later, a year later, you look at that benchmark and say, did we hit our benchmark now? The Lynn schools have just started doing response to intervention, and I think that's where we kind of fail. That we don't hit our benchmarks, and then we don't have a process to hit our benchmarks.
Okay. Anybody want to comment on that? What the mayor had said?
Yeah.
John, Donna.
Definitely do. I think I don't think it's necessarily a fact that we do not work on partnerships. We have a lot of partnerships that we work on with the nonprofits. They'll come in, they'll do parenting classes with us, they'll have literacy that we partner with them for the parents who English is a second language. And that, all of that we do, whether it's social workers coming, working with families, it is all helping the families and the child bring them along. So, you know, we don't just say, well, you know, the parent can't read or write, so that's it, it's not our problem. Lynn does take it on. We're not in Newton, you know, by any means, where there isn't English as a second language. We have so many, every day new families come in from different countries and have a different language. And we address all of those. So we are doing it, and we have so many partnerships all over this community. And just the one other thing why I think this community in particular might be a little gun shy about charters is we did have a charter school here, Lynn Community Charter School. And, you know, it was a disaster. It failed. We had to bring the kids back, you know, into the school system. We had, you know, a lot of kids that were behind. You know, they were behind. The Department of Education waited too long to make the decision to close that school. And then that was our taxpayer money. And all of the desks and all the stuff that was in that school, they were allowed to give away to a private school. And not even, all the kids were coming back to us. So I think that's a little, why we have a little problem with that.
Interesting. There was a caller who asked about parental control. Anybody recall? I want to respond to it.
Parental satisfaction and why we thought that they weren't satisfied. Is Cleo still on the line?
Excuse me?
Is she still on the line?
Cleo, are you still on the line? No, she's gone.
I'm almost positive she asked about
I don't
parental
remember the question, to
satisfaction.
be honest with you.
Parental satisfaction.
What?
It was. Parental satisfaction.
She asked what you could do about it. I think the first thing she should do if there is an issue, she should reach out to one of us and express that. We have open mic. She can, you know, contact us by phone, by email, but before we can address parental dissatisfaction, we have to know what the issue is. And I'm sure in a school, you know, a student body of 15,000, you know, if you're doing a 99% proficiency rate, you still get 150 dissatisfied students, which equates to probably 300 dissatisfied parents. But I think you have to first make the issue known and then get more involved yourself if you want to correct these issues.
781-596-9641's our number. Lorraine Gately's been mic'd up. Lorraine, we're going to give you an opportunity to state why they out there ought to vote for you, or should give you one of their 6 votes, that is. Turn to Lorraine and let her give her a little...
Am I on?
They got it? Go ahead. They'll find you.
Well, I really think that you should vote for me because I have worked every day 180 days for 33 and a half years in the classroom. I feel I have been a very successful teacher. I have a great rapport with my students and my parents. Of course, there's some discourse. I mean, you can't go through 33 and a half years and everybody like you. But I have a lot of knowledge and a lot to offer the Lynn Public Schools. Our buildings, we need to work on those. We need to work on getting smaller class sizes and more materials into the classroom. I work well with others. I work hard. I'm diligent, and I will work as hard for you as I have, excuse me, in my career of teaching. For example, I just came back from something, a fundraiser that I had, and a student had to come in and say hello to me. He had to come all the way from St. Mary's. He went to private school. He had to come and say hello to me and let me know that they support me and that these students love me, and I work hard for them, and I will continue to work hard on the school committee. One thing that's very near and dear to my heart is science and technology. I'm a regional leader for the Museum of Science, and I would like to see more technology in our classrooms. I would like to see more science in the middle school with replacement of consumables so teachers don't have to pay so much money on their supplies. But I understand, and I suggested to the administration in the past that the elementary schools need science also, and we've been working on that. That's what they've been working on, is the elementary schools. So when they feed into the middle schools, we're not going back to reteach them what they should already have known. So I want to take it a step further now. I want to be on the school committee so I can serve your children in a different capacity. I want to be there for you, the parent. You can talk to me, you can call me, and I will be there for you. Thank you for this opportunity, Joe.
781-596-9641 is our number. Melissa said earlier about crowded classrooms. Now, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a program, and Maria, you need some airtime here. Wasn't there a program that was instituted by Superintendent Dr. Latham that actually has been working that's reduced class size? Or did I misunderstand that? One of the shows we did, I remember Rich Starbot talking about a program that Kathy Latham, Dr. Latham, instituted that is actually working to reduce class size.
Okay,
and we're at a 28 threshold. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
The Washington school. Yeah, she took the kids from first to third grade at the Washington school, and they are over there. So she took some kids over there from around the community. She took kids even from Harrington school and different places. And that was one. And now she has what we call the kindergarten section or center that is in the LynnCAM annex. Yes, but still we have a classroom. If you go to a school like Classical, we have over there classroom with 37 students. You go to some elementary school, you're going to see a classroom with 30. So far, she said that she's going to do another classroom at Ingalls, because it was also one classroom with more than two classrooms with more than 30 students. So we still have that problem, and I disagree with the way that we have. Sometimes we know that we don't have too many, we don't have buildings, we don't have a space. But if we cannot be reactive, we should be proactive and thinking, because kids is going to continue coming to this city. So we need to try to find places in our city that we can rent. We have church that they are willing to do it. We have the Girls Inn able to rent a space. So that's why I believe that we need to try to find.
But my point is class size been reduced?
It's been, but we are still.
Is that a program that's been successful?
Absolutely.
Sean?
Every year, we have in the budget, they have what they call TBDs. And they have anywhere from 6 to 10 teachers to be determined. And that's what they do normally as the class sizes settle in around mid-September, early October. If they find the class size to be, too large, they will then break it down. Split it out and put 2 classes in place and use one of those TBD instructors. The problem we're having this year, and that's what precipitated the move to the kindergarten center, was at both Tracy, Brickett, and Ford, there were literally no classroom space. So they had to bring the kindergarten down here into the administration building, and that freed up some classroom space in the schools where they could use some of these teachers. To what something Maria just said, we're vacating a property at 113 Broad Street, and we're going to hold that in abeyance to see if we can put some classrooms in there. We have done quite a bit of looking around the city. I did a walkthrough of St. Michael's, which is to anybody that doesn't know, is an old Catholic school in West Lynn. And it just wasn't suitable. A lot of these buildings are available, but it's just cost prohibitive to upgrade them. It would be very expensive in the case of St. Michael's.
I think John just brought up a really interesting thing that I don't know if the public is really aware about. He just called 90 Commercial Street the administration building. 90 Commercial Street is not supposed to be an administration building. 90 Commercial Street was paid for to be a school building, to have kids in those classrooms. This is a huge part of the problem.
Tell us where 90 Commercial Street is. Is that the
90 Commercial Street,
commercial wharf too?
Yes. Yep.
Isn't it both?
It wasn't supposed to be. It was.
It is both.
It's always been both as long as I can remember.
Well, it's been both since we saved on the lease at 14 Central. We moved into the underutilized class space available for free at this 90 commercial.
Right, and Donna's saying no.
I'm saying no only because we moved the alternative school out of there, and we put them on Fecto Larry on the corner.
That was one piece,
and
but we
was-
also,
but
as the administration, was at
we did
14
move.
Central and moved over.
We moved over there, but we moved a school out of there that was, you know, probably
we-
better suited for that area than for us. The administration probably should have gone into the old Fecto Larry.
Yeah, and I agree,
And
and I-
kept the school within a school building, you know, where it had a new gym, a field house, and new cafeteria and stuff like that. Would have been, it's, you know, I think it was a mistake, but.
Let me throw another one out to you, because you talk about space. I was up at English High School today in the MCAS program, and one of the problems that they face is they today received 9 new students from nobody knows where. Now they're going to impact the MCAS scores, and we don't know whether these kids are even prepared to take them. How do you deal with...
I'm sorry, how, are the kids from,
out of nowhere, they ended up with 9 new kids just today, okay? Now, these kids, no one has any idea whether they're going to be competent enough to pass MCAS or what they need support. 1 second, Lorraine. And my point being is that that's quite unfair for the rating systems. You know, we talk KIPP Academy. KIPP Academy, for God's sakes, had a 94% success rate, and they're raving about being level 2. English High School had a 97% success rate, and no one's applauding that. Classical High School is a level 1 school. You guys have upgraded everything. I think Classical won 2 national awards. Am I right or wrong? I mean, why aren't we applauding these things instead of talking negative? Lorraine, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
To address your issue about the new students into the English High School, are they ELL? Are they in the ELL program?
The camera.
Oh, are they in the ELL program? That's my first question. My second question is, my second answer to you is, if they are in ELL, then they will be given what is called the access test. And the access test is going to test their level of language proficiency in 4 areas: if they can speak it, discuss it, write
Lorraine,
it.
they just arrived today. They
So are
arrived
they-
with no paper trail.
So
You know,
are they?
an assessment has to be made. That's my point.
Are they bilingual?
yeah, they get a year break.
No, don't.
Maria.
I believe that you ask, it's a comment that you ask because it's normal for us to receive kids every day.
Yeah.
It's so normal. That is what makes our teachers so great, because we always, even with that situation that you mentioned right now, we have 97%. We classical became number 1. So, so that is the point, that we have, if we have the results, kids can learn. And it doesn't matter, Lorraine said, are they legal? It doesn't matter if they are legal or not legal. In Lynn, in this city, in this state, public education is free for everybody. And the good thing that we have is that we have excellent teachers. I'm so proud to be part of the school committee member so far, to be part of this city, because what I see is that the KIPP is the different. KIPP take a kid one day in September. We take a kids every day. It doesn't matter where they are coming from, and they still can success.
And Maria is very right, because exactly as you said, why aren't we given the opportunity to say the great things that are happening? The data is sometimes our friend and our foe. We are showing, as you said, 9 undocumented students that we haven't even heard about. But a year ago, when several dozen, maybe 100 undocumented, we don't know their age, they don't know their age, there might be 5 or 6 with the same name, same birth date. We have brought those students in. We had to react. We had to put a program in place that we can service the one piece of paper that they come and says, my name is, my date of birth is. Remember, we don't have the right to challenge that. They do not have to prove their date of birth. They do not have to prove where they live. They just say that this is who I am and this is my age. So we have risen to that occasion. We have risen to the occasion to meet the needs of, as we say, 75 language in the system. We've risen to that. The data doesn't show it, but you walk into those classrooms and you see here the initiative, the wraparound zone. I am so proud of what Lynn has done with the wraparound zone. We have taken every available agency, not just in Lynn, within the community, every teaching resource, and we have met every single need of those students. Would I like it to go citywide? Yes. Do we need it to go citywide? Yes, but that's what we're working towards. So I commend the teachers and I commend the administration. I know many people want to say, too much administration. If we didn't have that district team leading the charges on a federal state mandate, trickling that down, then our teachers would be going without a path and without a direction. They are getting the best professional development. Our teachers can go into any system with a resume and they will be willed to be hired. So yes, as I'm very proud to be part of that data.
John, you jump in.
Just a quick point, I think Patty was alluding to this, was we had that issue with the unaccompanied minors, where about 82 students came in, young men. The superintendent attempted to put them at the night school, figuring they were older, so probably they'd want to work. The lawyer stepped in and said, you can't do that. You have to. They have their rights. They have to be put in a day school program. So we set up a day school program. Spring came, 49 went to get jobs, landscaping jobs, whatever they went out to get. Those 49 counted against our dropout rate, which people rail against, that our dropout rate is so high. But there's issues like that cause that dropout rate to skyrocket. Now those same 49 kids can come back this September, and if they go back to work next April, they count a second time. We'll have 98 counted against that dropout rate. Totally unfair, but when you realize some of the issues that we're working against, we're doing a heck of a job in the city educating kids.
Let me stop you for 1 second. Lorraine, a student says hi from Marin Houston, is it?
Oh.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, hi Marin,
nice.
How are you?
Anybody else want to comment on that issue?
I guess the only thing I would like to add to that is that we are making incredible gains. I don't think enough of our schools have been lauded for those gains. Even our level 3 schools that are still level 3, I talked about it last night, Ford School is within points. In every single subgroup, they're within points of meeting their goal. And that's amazing. They've had no additional funding. They're a community school. They were our only school with a K through 8, and they're within points of meeting their goals in all of their subgroups. And I just think not enough is being said about that.
Well, Paul.
Avon School, 15th in the state for their science scores.
15th in the state, not the district. It's a phenomenal fact.
Paul was going to talk about mandates.
Can I ask a question? Because this is really fascinating to me, and I'm glad to be hearing all this stuff because, frankly, I wasn't aware about it. Some of the things that you've mentioned, and I applaud the school department and school committee for the work they're doing. I am curious, though, because we're talking about how the school is doing. The school is doing this well, so it's always talking about a box full of kids. Right, as opposed to the individual kid and how that individual kid is doing relative to a baseline that they may have, and I know it's probably impossible for us to talk, put a list in the paper. This one did this, and you can't really do that. But I'm wondering, is there, getting back to the parental satisfaction question that was raised earlier, are there things that we do to evaluate the individual relative to I guess it's grades, I guess, does that in some respects, but the satisfaction that the parents have that the good job is being done for their particular kid or kids, and that the individual himself or herself is happy with the work, their performance relative to what they did last year. So, it's an outcomes measurement approach as opposed to a process measurement approach. And I'm just kind of curious if anybody had any thoughts on that. Lorraine?
Let's have Lorraine, she says.
In my classroom, we use a number of strategies. And the strategies that we use touch on different intelligences. I'm a big fan of Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. Everyone in my class learns. And how I measure that is through different types of activities or labs and their performance. not everybody is going to do well on a test. Not everybody has the confidence to take a test. So what I try to do is at the beginning of the school year, I work through the whole school year and I nurture their high intelligence, and then I bring up their lower intelligence so that they are able to pass the test, feel successful within themselves, and the confidence to go on to high school. And that's what a teacher does in a classroom in Lynn. Every teacher has learned different RBT strategies that they're able to bring into the classroom, help all the students, every single student in their class, and bring up their grades so that they're able to be successful the following year. That is the job of a teacher, in my opinion.
Yes. We got about a minute before we go to break. Any comment on that, Paul, or any follow-up?
Well, I was just curious about, these 49 kids that went out and got jobs in April and so forth. I mean, how did you, do you have any data that says that they're improving and they're doing, even though we're calling them dropouts? I mean, there must be something that says that we've succeeded with them as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a...
Well, we're going to think about that, and you think about it. We'll be taking a break. We'll be right back.
The City's Voice is brought to you by Salon 234. Salon 234 is dedicated to delivering the highest quality service. We pride ourselves on being a visionary full-service company specializing in the current hairstyle trends and skincare needs for all different types of skin. Our highly skilled staff are committed to meeting your needs with a spirit of caring and individual attention. Passion for excellence and dedication to the advancement of industry standards will continue to guide the evolution of our company. Come find yourself and unwind yourself.
My music, leadership, my parents,
practice what I preach,
to make my family proud, my self-perception, my job,
my game,
my dignity.
This is why we say no.
The power of the word no gives you the strength you need to persevere. We live above the influence.
The majority of teens in Lynn choose not to use marijuana or alcohol.
Be in charge of you.
This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great, authentic Italian food.
And we're back. Are we back? We are. Paul, you put it out to them about 49 kids get dropped out. How do you measure it? And John's over there scratching his head. I mean,
I don't think he was scratching his head.
I'm kidding.
So maybe I can reframe the question. So we've got a metric that's being used unfairly against the district in terms of calculating dropout rates and so forth, which is rather unfair, and it really speaks to my question about why is somebody from Boston telling us how to educate our kids? But that's another question. I won't go there. So the question I'm asking is, there must be some specific information about each individual kid, like Lorraine was saying, that speaks to how they have improved from when they started to the end of the school year. And I'm wondering, can't you make the argument to these people at the state and that you have
to do that. We've tried over and over to do that.
And what do they say?
But I don't want to. But
what do they say?
It's not our job to make excuses. Our job is to educate kids.
Excuses.
But it is in a way. These are the students that we get, and it's our challenge, so we go forward with that. I think in some ways, where you can go on the DOE website and you can find the results of every school, and you can also go on the Lynn website and also find that, or within each individual school will let you know too. And the item prints it, so it is out there for people to see. But it's a funny thing when we had the 2 level 4 schools, the Harrington and the Connery School, and parents could have left and gone to another school that was at a higher level. They chose to stay in their school because they had faith in those, their school, their teachers. Everybody likes their neighborhood school here in Lynn, but those things are on there. I don't think of that. And I just want to say something about the student thing. At the end of the school year, we were given, I had actually requested, but because they kept saying about these 84 undocumented kids, coming from one particular country, and they gave us where all the students came in last year. There were as many that came to us from other communities as they did from other countries. And the other countries were probably 30 or 40 different countries. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, all those places that you think that we don't have great partnerships with, those families are coming here with us. But they also had a lot. You have to understand the economy is bad. So a lot of kids who have moved out, maybe lost their homes, lost their jobs, have moved back with their families here. And so we have them coming from everywhere.
Well, let me just say that I don't think it's about making excuses. I'm thinking, I guess what I would say is, if somebody told me that, regardless of the realities, we're holding this against you and it will affect your funding, or it will affect this, or it will affect that, or I would certainly want to pitch it to them that, look what we can show about these particular kids. But we should be boasting that, I think, is what I'm saying, is if we're so proud of the work we're doing as a school, we should also be proud of the individual achievements that we've had. And with these kids, if we have individual achievements, the heck with what they say in Boston. Let's let people know what we've done and the success that we've had, regardless of what they're going to penalize you for.
You're still dictated to by the DOE, and as Donna said, we've gone back to the DOE hundreds of times saying, the disadvantages that we have. And that's why the governor did create those 9 urban districts to kind of level the playing field a little bit, and that we now are compared to the Springfields, the Lowells, the Lawrence, the Worcester. That's the 9 urban districts. And right now, Lynn ranks #1 in math, #1 in English, #1 in science, #1 in English, and we're 1 percentage point out of #1 in math. So we're doing very good against the cities and towns that we should be compared to.
Right.
Is there ever a time when you say no to a mandate? Is there? Well, see, that's one of the problems. So the federal government and the state government, who have no idea what's happening at a local level, send down these measurements that are quantitative and have nothing to do with qualitative measurements that I never see. A human being is a composite of both intellect and emotion. Steve Jobs dropped out of college because they didn't teach him what he wanted to teach. He didn't want to take the subjects they wanted to teach him. Now, Steve Jobs did pretty well. Okay? And you can hear these stories over and over again. Sometimes the educational system can't identify talent strictly by measurement. I would like a comment on that. There are many kids that I grew up with who did marvelous in their life, who were academically, quote unquote, deficient, and yet they did well. And how do we find those gems? How do we identify that kid that maybe can't pass MCAS, but boy, he can come up with the next computer, the next idea?
It's easy. Teachers identify those kids, and that's why we have teachers. We know. We have teachers 33 years in the system. We know that those teachers hear the data, get pummeled by the data, but they know just in that classroom that those kids are successful in their own style. And sometimes that's when they are encouraged to take on an extracurricular that will enhance them. We have no fees for our athletes. We have no fees for our extracurricular activities. We have the drum, we have the drama, we have arts. We have enough to help make students very successful and well-rounded. They can create a club. We saw in the item yesterday, the entrepreneur club. They can create a club and they can become what they feel passionate about. We don't restrict them to content area. And the proudest part is we don't charge those fees. So there's no limit to what they can do.
To pile onto that one, we have like 500 kids playing the violin. Sounds like a small issue, but these are 500.
No, it's a big issue, John. That's a very big issue.
And they're not paying for these. They're not paying for the lessons. They're not paying for the instruments, and the band. I mean, if anybody's come to any of the band concerts, they're fantastic. You know, it's not the old papa that we grew up watching the football games to. These kids are really talented, and this is something that, you know, the user fees. Kids in Swampscott, Marblehead, Salem, Peabody, all around us are paying $200, $300, $400 to play a sport. Our kids aren't. That's another thing that people don't realize. That's a lot of money, $1,400.
That's why we have the show, you know. That's why we have a conversation, to get those things out that people don't know about. You can all boilerplate your talking points, but this is better. Yes, Lorraine.
Like Jennifer Lobo, I think, works here at the TV studio. And she's here and she works there during the school year as she's finishing up her senior year in high school. So she's exhibiting her talents and she does an excellent job. And she's right here in the studio. So that's the kind of stuff that happens in Lynn with students, and it's a great program.
I think
and that's out of
if
tech.
we could continue to expand tech, though. Specifically, I've been talking to kids that haven't been able to get into programs because they were full, and then they switch to English or they switch to classical, and then they drop out because, you know, the program that they want isn't big enough for them. So I would love to see more programs for kids that don't fit into the box. More, you know, I don't want to see kids leaving tech because there isn't enough room in the auto body course. Let's make the auto body course bigger. Let's not send them to English. Let's not send them to classical. Let's not have them drop out. Let's give them a trade and see them succeed. Tech is unbelievably underutilized. It's unbelievably under-enrolled.
You're absolutely right. There was 1,200 when I first got on the school committee, and there's only about 640 kids right now at LynnTech. And the nursing program, you know, the future is in medicine and nursing. Yeah, and you know, you take these kids and they're in their freshman year, and they have to try everything, and they decide that nursing is what I want to do, but yet only maybe 20 kids can get in that, and maybe 60 apply. So the other 40 that couldn't get in there, they said, oh, well, you know, we have room in cosmetology. If you want to be a nurse, why would you want to spend the next 3 years in cosmetology?
Great point. Now, go further with it. We need fabricators.
Yes.
We need tool and die makers. We need all these type of things. We don't celebrate that. Tech is another untapped jewel. You know.
And you know what, Joe? Those jobs aren't going down to Mexico either, or to China.
No, they're not.
Those jobs are staying right here.
Exactly.
Not the last time I had to call a plumber. You're right.
Made great strides. We had it did pummel, and now we have put things with the help of many people, with the help of the community, with the help of the alumni, Paul, and you know very well, you're instrumental in that, with the help of Rick Stabbit as a fellow committee member. People have been instrumental to show. We have that robotics program that is in there. That has taken technology into the school and has just skyrocketed their success and skyrocketed their acknowledgement of their success.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, because I never heard of it. And I'm sure the people out there
it's
never have.
It's a science and technology program that
and
the
that's
kids...
a good thing that you're mentioning it, right?
That's absolutely
now
right.
Let's go one step further. Earlier I asked you about the possibility of an exam school. I would like to see layers of school, an exam school, tech school, a science school. Lorraine's absolutely correct. The science classes, the math classes, technology classes are not that great as they should be. And I'm pleased to hear that in the middle schools, aren't you people going to institute a engineering technology type of program? Donna, aren't you?
We're trying to. You know, we started
Is
with
that a great idea,
great idea. In the elementary has No Adam. And I think it started actually Lincoln Thompson with a grant, and then it got continued with some funding, and then they've added on to other schools. And the schools that actually have it are the ones that have the high science and math marks. And so we really need to put it in there. But the middle school, and it's not just Lynn, around the state, middle school. And you know, if you ever remember when your kids were in middle school, you know, I had Joanne McCarthy, who I mentioned, taught in middle school, and she was, I love that age group. I said, Joanne, us parents don't even like that age group. You know, it's a tough group of kids, you know, and you know, their interest isn't at that time exactly learning and studying, but it must be. We have to expand and be successful there.
How many of you, wait a minute, 1 second, how many of you tune into his blog, to Stanley's blog? Well,
but
let me say this.
Let me admit that I do not
Stan,
read it.
you talked
I
about,
do
you
not.
were very pleased with a program instituted by the superintendent that had to do with math. And tell me why, and tell the folks why you were so heads up on it.
You know, first of all, it makes education fun, you know, and, you know, I was walking up Rockaway and I heard kids saying, oh, I got to get on my iPads, I can get on No Adam. I mean, getting kids that excited when their school day doesn't end when the bell rings. You know, and it's it's a competition. You can compete with members in the class, members in the school, members in your grade, members across the country, and it's a good way to build their self-esteem. And you know, technology is the way to go. And because, like I've said before, we're not going to build our way out of our problems with education here. We need to go to technology, and the No Adam science thing, I remember what happened. Yes, it was into 5 schools with a grant. Okay, and I think GE and another private foundation made the grant. And the grant ended, and they had decided, well, they weren't going to redo it because it was too expensive. We didn't have a science assistant director of curriculum at the time. And Maria actually was very instrumental in getting them to take a look at this. And I remember the mayor saying, oh, the guy who developed it isn't, you know, he doesn't have a high education. I could develop a program like that. Well, it happened that maybe to Maria, I'm not sure, who's completely responsible, but it went to all the middle schools. I mean, all of the grades, elementary schools. And like Ford, for example, that's why they did so well in math, because of this program. You know, and it's No Adam is like mixed science, science in a box. You know, and the kids get excited.
781-596-9641, that's our number. Give us a call. There was some activity over here that you wanted to jump in, so be my guest. Maria, he gave you a compliment.
I know, thank you. Sir. No, I was thinking about our school that we have, and we talk about, I went back to the dropout. We always have problems with the dropout. It's not just because new students came and decide to drop out that time and come. We always have that situation. It's not at that time that we are not talking about 30 years ago when we have different families in this city. The population changed completely. It's different. So we have people that coming from, not just from another country, they're coming from another states. And they come where they find that they have family, that they can relate with the family. It's not just because they came here because the rent is not cheap. I found apartment now in Central Square, that in downtown Lynn, where people have to pay $1,200. You know, so it's not cheap. If you think, and that dropout is not just because they are new. It's also because some students, they become a little. You know, like if they want to go to LynnCAM and they are pushed to go to classical or English, they are going to the wrong direction. And they don't feel like they are the place to be. And kids we forgot that we were kids sometimes, and long time ago, but we forgot that we are here for the students. We are here to help them to succeed. It doesn't matter about background. They should deserve quality of education. And yes, when you are poor, and Patty was talking about that, the demand is more from the teacher because because teachers have to give more, administration have to give more because they coming from a home that very difficult. You know, sometimes they have not even. We have kids here who are homeless, and we don't pay attention to that population.
Maria, we're going to go back 50 years to a guy that sat on the school committee, chaired the school committee, and I want to ask you, Dave, Mayor, I'm sorry, Honorable Dave Phillip, and then frame something for the school committee member. How much different is it today from what you've been listening to than when you were there?
Oh, wow. One of you had mentioned 75 different languages being spoken.
Absolutely. And maybe there's dialects to every.
In our era, in the early 70s, of course, we had the Hispanic population as one language. We had a Greek community, and some of them were speaking Greek. But it was just a handful of those folks. And so most everybody was working in the English language. And the scores that Lynn was putting out at that time were pretty good scores compared to the Swampscots and Marbleheads, and it was I think James Leo McGinnis was he was on top of things.
Dr. Leo. Yeah.
And I came away from that experience feeling it was a good school system and turning out kids who were going to good four-year colleges. And I'm still wrestling from not being involved as much these days, involved with other aspects of government. But when you hear all of these positive stories about the KIPP academies around the country, how can we take advantage of that here in Lynn in a positive way? But I agree, if the child comes back to the public school, the money ought to come back too. I don't understand that.
And it ought to be under the control of the school committee anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
If we had a Horace Mann, it would be. If we had a Horace Mann charter, the money would stay in our district. The kids would still be. It would be controlled by the Lynn Public Schools. We don't have a Horace Mann charter. Shame on us. We should. I think you hit the head. I think you hit the nail on the head, though. We have 79 different languages. KIPP does a really good job because they embrace that. They offer English classes at night to their parents. They say, you speak Cambodian, you speak Spanish, you speak Japanese, we're going to teach you how to speak English. And not only that, we're going to find somebody in your community that speaks your language, and they're going to act as a liaison, and they're going to help you through this process. We need more of that. We need our Parent Information Center to be full of volunteers from our community that speak the languages, that come from the cultures, that are there to help these new families that come in. Every school, I want to see them all open with English classes. I want to see our people being taught how to speak English so that they can read English at home, they can talk in English at home, so that their kids are better prepared to come to school, and so that the parents are better.
Melissa, you know what? You bring out the best in our audience because we have a call. Jordan, how are you? Jordan?
I'm good, Mr. Spina. Not regarding what Melissa was saying, even though it was great. But going back to tech, we were talking about tech. And kids not being accepted, and kids not, we're turning down kids. What is the right now system on how we get kids in? I mean, I know kids that are getting A's that get rejected. Is it a lottery, or is it? How does it work? And if it's not a lottery, I think we should.
There is an assessment system, so we are looking at their attendance. We are looking at how they did. Mark-wise, there's a number of things that they look at, and they have an interview also for LynnTech. So it's just not an automatic in. Do I agree with that? Not necessarily, because I think it was 78 students coming out of middle school were denied access to LynnTech. And what they're told is that if they turn things around, they can go to classical or English. They turn it around in like 2 quarters. Then they would look at them again and maybe have them come over. I would prefer that those kids be allowed to go to LynnTAC, maybe keep them, you know, together and separate and following them, and you know, and then if they do, they're already part of LynnTAC. They started out on their first day of school feeling like, I'm a LynnTAC kid. Right. And I think that that's really what we should be looking at. But
Donna,
we'd have to have...
now that I think about it, isn't LynnTAC a semi-exam school in a sense? You said you have to pass certain criteria before you can go there. So it's the same principle.
Years ago, there was no, there was no exams. In fact, I graduated in '77, and I had to take an exam to get into the school back in '75 or '4 or whatever it was, and that went away, and there was a decline in the school, and that turned around under Mr. Ridley, and then now under Mrs. Parisi. And I think that they've actually brought the an entrance exam kind of approach to the school.
Another thing that they've done is they've reinstituted the college preparatory program. I mean, my youngest daughter graduated. She thought she wanted to be a graphic artist. She then decided she wanted to become a teacher. She had a tough time at Salem because she didn't have any English. She wasn't prepared for college. They've now got the pre-engineering, and because you're asking kids to make a determination of what to do with the rest of their life in the 8th grade.
Right.
And it's not always the case. They think, geez, I'd like to be a plumber like Dad. I'd like to be a carpenter. But halfway through, they say, you know, geez, maybe I'd like to go to Wentworth. You know, and if they don't have any college preparatory or no college preparation, it's difficult to do that. This way, they're producing a more rounded kid. They've got a pre-engineering course. These kids are going to go right into Wentworth, and you know, even other Worcester, WPI. You know, it's a better program down there, and the intent is to build it back up to 1,200 students.
Right.
Well, but is it a good idea to have a qualification, Lorraine? Is it?
Well, I'd like to go back to
go ahead.
Donna said earlier. Donna was talking about 78 kids from the middle schools didn't get a chance to go into LynnTAC. So I would think that it would be more beneficial for them to go to LynnTAC for two quarters, and it would be like, hey, you either sink or you swim. You know, this is your choice. You want to go to LynnTAC? Go to LynnTAC. But now you have to pass those classes, and you have to maintain good grades to continue on. And then we hear that the enrollment is down. How can you build up that enrollment?
You know, it's interesting.
We shouldn't be denying 78 kids. We're supposed to have 12.
The procedures that they have now, like the person we're calling, they want to know, is that they go to middle school. They try to sell the LynnTAC. They want the students to be proud of the LynnTAC. And what they do, and they go to the middle school and bring those kids to the open house so they can see what they offer. Yep. They bring the parents also.
Maria, I hate to do this, but this is called the top priority.
Okay.
Caller on the line. Paul, is it?
Good morning, guys. How are you doing, candidates? I got a question for all of you, if I could. In the next 2 years, if elected, could you tell the voters of Lynn what you would make a priority going into the next 2 years for what you see as the most important thing facing the Lynn school system? Thank you.
Good question.
Wasn't it, huh?
Let's do it by alphabetical order or what?
Flip a coin. Who wants to tackle it?
I think we have, when you gave us the opportunity for an open statement of what we would do if we would be reelected. So, but in a nutshell, I would continue to make those gains that we've made through the programs and support of the goals of the administration, of the support of the teachers in that classroom, of the support of the curriculum, and continue to go forward with that, because we've proven that the gains are being made. So what we're doing is right. We got to do more of it, and we have to continue to let it grow and go further.
Next.
I think if there was one thing I had a key on, I think I would, as we've said, parental involvement. That the more parental involvement we generate, the better it is for the kids. You know, it's the home life. Everything becomes affected. you know, I would continue with the great security job we're doing through Officer Ferrari, and again, as my passion, you know, more buildings.
Yes, Maria.
I think that, as Patty said, we already said that, but he was not there. Since I became a school committee member, I tried to have what we call bring the parents to the school, make sure that the parents feel comfortable and involved in the education of the children. I believe that we need to have more community schools, and community schools working around the need of the community that they are, where they stand for. And the reason I say that is because we have schools who after 3 o'clock, they close the building. We need those buildings to be open to provide education to the parents. Parents can be involved. If they believe that that is the building, they're going to take care of the building. So I want the school to be open after school, so they can be, we have a foreign school, English as a second language, GED. Before she was doing computer classes, even citizen classes. We have, and that is something that we see and kept. We have also culinary. And the superintendent said that one of her goals is to bring the same results that she brought to the level 4 schools, Harrington County, to all the level 3 schools. We want those results to be in those schools so we can see how our students are going to pass and becoming all the school level 1 or 2.
I got to take a hard break here, or we have to take a hard break, and we'll be back for answers from the other 4. Stay tuned.
The City's Voice is brought to you by Salon 234. Salon 234 is dedicated to delivering the highest quality service. We pride ourselves on being a visionary full-service company specializing in the current hairstyle trends and skincare needs for all different types of skin. Our highly skilled staff are committed to meeting your needs with a spirit of caring and individual attention. Passion for excellence and dedication to the advancement of industry standards will continue to guide the evolution of our company. Come find yourself and unwind yourself.
What are you doing in the halls? You're fat, you're ugly, don't be walking this way. Now get your things.
This program has been sponsored by Old Time Italian Cuisine. Located at 612 Boston Street in Lynn, Mass., Old Time offers a variety of authentic Italian dishes ranging from pasta to chicken and more, with delicious desserts and fine wine. Bring your family down to their dining area or enjoy a drink at their full-service bar. Old Time Italian Cuisine. Great authentic Italian food.
And we're back, Paul. As they're passing around the newspaper from 50 years ago that former Mayor, the Honorable Dave Phillips, brought here, and they're all amazed at the vote that came out at that time.
Right, and this was a primary.
A primary, yeah.
And there were
50%,
5 or 6 candidates for mayor, and there was a, what'd you say, a 50% turnout?
Yeah.
A
7 for
50%
mayor,
turnout in
yeah.
1973.
As opposed to 16% this time.
Yeah.
You know, I really commend all of you for putting your names out there, but I am saddened by the fact, and I don't mean to demean anybody, by the fact that there's only 9 of you. There should be 12. And I mean, you know, and that's the way it should be. And I think all of you, no one's wasting a vote if they voted for any one of you. I mean, they're making a good vote regardless. You all bring your own qualities to the school committee, and that's a wonderful thing. Anyways, forget that editorial. Let's go to Stanley, because you didn't get a chance to say why I, Paul, or Dave should vote for you. And for that matter, the folks out there.
I think I did, but what I want to talk about is something actually I remember from the last debate. I was talking with actually you and your role as a former city council member. That right now, the Lynn Public Schools get about 50% of the city budget, and this is a good transition to the results back then. I think you had mentioned when you were a city councilman, there was the percentage was like 25% of the city budget, and you know.
No, it wasn't 25%. The budget was much smaller. It was 25 million. Today it's about 125 million, right? But the budget was much smaller in general universe.
Yeah.
You know.
But
we had a budget of about 57 million when I was mayor.
And what was the school portion of that?
The percentage.
Pretty good chunk of it.
About 50%, right?
Anyway, yeah.
So it's been pretty
population
standard,
was about the
50%.
same.
We're about 117 right now.
We were at 94,000 and
It's
90,000.
between, yeah.
94,000 we had population. It's now what, 91. So that was about the same.
But you know what's
But
encouraging?
big turnouts. We had 75% turnout on the final.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
You know.
But we should now, and this is what these programs are about. But in all fairness to you folks, and you folks out there, they had a great interest in education, obviously, or they never would have turned out to make that vote on Thurgood Marshall Middle School. That pulled a lot of people out. Otherwise, the turnout would have been nothing, you know. And so, for those folks who are interested in education, these are the ones that do it, you know. So make a wise choice. I'm sorry, Stanley, continue.
No, I'm done.
Are you really?
Well, I mean, I'm glad you clarified that number versus percentage.
Right.
It's just, I'm all about making sure we get the most for our dollar, you know, and I want to have, part of also what we were saying was that they do a lot of good things, but no one, it's a secret, no one talks about it. I think Thurgood Marshall has an excellent Facebook page where they tout the achievements of the students, of their teachers and things like that. That's what we should be doing more of, and we're not. You know, we're not saying what we do well. You know, and I mean, it's easy to say what we do bad. Look at my blog. I do that all the time. But you know.
Speak of the bad and the most.
By the way, I want you to tell the folks out there, when you do it all the time, where you do it. Tell them that blog of yours. What is it?
That's Lynn School Watch.
Say it again. Say it again.
Lynn School Watch.
And if I want it, I just punch that into the computer and it comes up?
Google it. I've got over 300,000 hits in a little over 3 years.
Anybody else got a blog out there, you know?
No, but we are accessible through Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I have an email. Yeah. You're able to get a hold of us. Patty, P-A-T-T-I 7761 at Hotmail is my email. Patricia Capano or Patty Capano for a Facebook. Many of us have social media outlets so that we can correspond with everyone out there, and to prove the importance of the upcoming election, to prove the importance of get out and vote, come out and be involved, because 9.6% is not helping anyone. It's certainly not helping the 15,000 students. That's far more than 9%. Let's get out there and let's support your opinions so that we can continue the work for our students.
Who has
I
not?
want to just, I want Mayor Phillips to understand that, that it's such a difference in this school system as back in your time. Back then was not education reform law. Was not MCAS. I don't know what the test
Proposition
was.
2.5.
You actually teach the kids.
But what you, it's probably the
In the
SATs.
first year, Chapter 766, but no funding with it.
Yes,
and that was
exactly.
an interesting experience.
And I understand that. And the dropout, though, you have to understand, like before ed reform came into the picture, dropout in Lynn was in the 30% of the kids dropped out of school. Whether it was pregnancies, it was, just leaving for work and not doing well academically, whatever it was. But now, we don't let the minute we know a child is starting to think about dropping out, we give them all the services that they can get to keep them. Because if not, that dropout goes against us and brings our scores down, for where our standings are. So we're very low dropout now. I mean, can't talk about in the 30s anymore, but that's what it was back then.
4.1, Paul. We were
That's a dropout
5.8 in 2008. The
That's-
2012 data is 4.1. We don't have the 2013.
But even with the MCAS, if a kid fails the MCAS, in their senior year, they're allowed to take it during the summer. They're allowed, they're coached all during the summer. They're allowed to take it again in the fall. We really make every effort to see that a kid succeeds.
Now, President Obama says on his radio, his public address, whatever, it's like a PSA, yes. He says that the average rate across the country is 30%, and we're at 4%?
Yes, 4.1%.
Wow.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Again, it's been another initiative. We have dropout coaches in the high school system and the secondaries to help find out, why are you leaving? What can we do? We have the guidance counselors who have initiatives. We have
Credit recovery.
we have the credit recovery programs that are in our alternative and our high schools. If you need, we have LEAP. We have so many programs that we want you to stay in school, not just for data. We want good citizens. We want competent citizens to lead this city.
We're the number one in the country. I mean, with the best school system in the country. I think we are, right? First or second.
That's us.
Listen, I don't want to let anybody, cut anybody short, but we have very little time. Lorraine, you haven't had much time, so we get 2 minutes. I'm giving you one of those 2 minutes. How's that?
Okay, the things that I would like to see in the 2 years that I'm a school committee member is, one of them I didn't realize until I got into this race, is the school buildings. I like to make sure that we get more cost-efficient school buildings built like Thurgood Marshall. I'd like to see the class sizes reduced and more money put into the classroom. I'd like to do a little bit of a research project on Avon Elementary School and all the things that they do right, and maybe try to duplicate it through all the other elementary schools, because they're doing something right in math, they're doing something right in science, and we have the best group of teachers from K through 12, and they have an awful lot that they can impart in professional development, and I'd like to see that happen when I get in my administration.
Well, we have done something right. The teacher of that outstanding 5th grade science class is now the director of our science curriculum.
Thanks to my suggestion.
Listen, we're up against the clock, and I want to say this. Thank you, Mayor Phillips, the Honorable Mayor Phillips. Thank you, Paul Crowley, my co-host, and my co-host over the next few weeks, I guess, huh?
Yes.
We'll be seeing you in an area. We're going to be doing the council at large, and the mayoral. And to all of you, I must say I'm impressed. I love education, particularly Lynn school system educated me, my siblings, my children, and now my grandchildren. You're doing a great job, all of you, and I'm hope to, I don't know what I'm going to do. Got me all complexed. Anyways, have a great evening. Stay tuned. Good night.